Since you are listening to this podcast, I know that you're an ambitious business owner who wants to grow her business and to learn more about how business works. I want to personally offer to you a numbers strategy session. In this 1-hour session, we will look at your financial statements and see how your business is doing and what you can be doing better. I'll answer your specific questions and we will create some action steps for you to take in the next few months of your business. Interested? Email me at lydia@dacbalance.com to learn more. Welcome to the DAC podcast. My name is Lydia Miller, and in this podcast, I'm talking through the things that I'm learning in an MBA program and how I'm applying that information to my small business. Thanks for joining me. Now let's get started. Last week on the podcast, we talked about analysis and we kind of gave an overview of it, and we talked about how it's not the solution to your problems that you're having. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, make sure that you do listen to it, and it'll help you as we discuss analysis in these next 4 episodes. Today, we're going to talk about how you can analyze the environment around your business and how that will affect your business. And you can change your marketing based on what you learn in this analysis and continue to make sales, even if your industry isn't as strong as it once was, or even if your competitors are struggling, you can continue to make sales. So in life, there will always be things that you can't control. There's, the weather, other people, politics, other people's reactions, so on and so forth, things you can't control. And so you kind of have to learn how to adjust to the changes and keep moving forward in your business and in your life, despite the things that you can't control and that might not be going your way. So the things that we're going to look at today are things that you can't control, but it's a list of things that you should consider if you're opening a business or if you're running a business. And these are all going to be the environment around your business is what we're looking at. We're not looking at anything internal yet. These are just the external. Can't control them, but think about them if you're thinking about entering an industry. So the first, which is not a particularly favorite topic, is politics. And this might seem like a strange thing to start with, but once we get going, you'll see where I'm going with this. Okay. So this seems to be either someone's favorite topic to talk about or their very least favorite topic to talk about. And you can see this on Facebook a lot where people either post about this all the time, especially in last year's elections, or I guess the 2 years ago, the election season, or they just unfriend and unfollow any person who ever makes a slight political comment at all. So my husband, while he doesn't ever post on Facebook, he loves politics and he listens to political podcasts all the time, like literally every single day. And he watches C-SPAN during election years. And even when just something interesting is happening, election years are his favorite because so many things are happening and there's all the drama around it all. And this last election, we went and we watched every single debate that both sides were having, including all of the vice presidential debates. And as far as I know, none of our other friends did this. And for reference, he's 28. So 2 years ago, 26. He's super involved in politics. And I was just kind of there for the ride. And I think it's interesting, but he would really deep dive into a lot of these issues and talk to me about it. And it's not necessarily my favorite thing to talk about, but it's very interesting for sure. So why are we looking at politics if we're owning a business? Why do we care? Well, regardless if this is your favorite topic or if this is your least favorite topic, you should be aware of the political forces, especially around your industry that you're going into. And I'm not saying that you should obsess over the news or look through the internet for every little detail relating to your industry. But if there is a controlling body over your industry, you should be keeping up with the general things that are going on. For example, I own a bookkeeping business, and the SEC governs the accounting rules in the United States, and that can affect my job. And the same thing with the tax reform. So if there is a huge tax reform where people really can send in their tax their tax return on a, postcard, which I highly doubt that would ever happen just because it's so complicated and it runs so deep. I just don't see how they could ever do that. But if they did, that would affect my job, because if businesses didn't have to keep up with their bookkeeping for taxes, then the industry would shrink, because if they don't care about their bookkeeping, or if there's not as many rules on it, then there are fewer people out there who are going to want bookkeeping services. And so for things like that, you have to know in your industry. Maybe you don't have anything political around your industry. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking like something creative or something like photography or something like that. There might be rules around what you can put online, or maybe copyright laws that might be changing. But as far as going into business, you just want to make sure that you're legally allowed to do that, or you kind of have to know what is around that. For example, just today, so recently I've been thinking about getting my CPA license and about how I would do that and what it would take. And so to become a CPA, there's 3 requirements: your education, your experience, and the exam. So as far as education goes, I would have to get my master's in accounting. So yes, that would be a second master's degree that I would have to get, which is fine because I kind of want to get it anyway, just to deepen and broaden my accounting knowledge. So that would be number 1. Number 2, the exam. I would have to pass all 4 parts of the exam. Okay? No big deal. Not no big deal as in it wouldn't be difficult, but no big deal because I know that there's a path to complete that and that a lot of people have finished it, and I know people who have studied for it and passed it. I know I can do it. And then number 3, your experience. So as far as experience goes, you have to work for a CPA in most states for 1 or 2 years. And there are a few ways to get around this, such as if you teach at a university, if you teach accounting classes for 2 years, that'll count as your experience. Or if you work a couple of tax seasons and it can build into about 2 years of experience under a CPA, that can count as well. So there's different ways that you can kind of get around it. I wouldn't want to work full-time for somebody else just because I already have my own business, but that would mean I'd have to get rid of my clients and, go back to work for somebody else, and I just don't want to do that. The thought of it, I just can't even stand it right now. So, but full-time for the AICPA, full-time to them is 30 hours a week. So I was thinking, okay, how can I work for a CPA for part of the time and still work for myself and all that kind of stuff? So I'm sorting through it all. But then I called one of the state boards of accountancy to just ask a few questions to see, okay, so after I get my education requirements and I pass all 4 parts of the exam, how long do I have to get my experience? So I called and I was chatting with her, and she told me that it's indefinite. Like, you can do 10 years, 50 years, it doesn't matter. But, and I told her that, I have a bookkeeping business right now. So I was going to work for a CPA, for tax season and try to work that out. And she said, well, hang on a second. And then she, put me on hold and came back and she said, well, since you already have a bookkeeping business, if you pass the CPA exam, you fall under our category now. Right now, we can't regulate you because you're a bookkeeper and it's not under our control at all. But if you pass a CPA exam, you're intending to become a CPA. And if you are practicing as an accountant at all or doing any accounting work, you have to close your business because you're not trying to be CPA and it's considered misleading. And I couldn't believe that when she told me that I would have to close my business unless I was actively seeking after that to become a CPA. And I had no idea, because now I'm rethinking my whole plan of, do I even want to become a CPA? I would need the experience first. So do I start getting the experience now, for next tax season, or do I just go back to work full time for somebody else now and put everything on hold? So it's all those things where if you're going into this business and it's regulated, or if there are licenses that you can get for it, you need to know all those ins and outs, because you might not even be able to run your own business if you aren't licensed a certain way, or if you're in the middle of a license, you might not even be able to continue working your job. So it's things like that where you want to make sure that you know all those details ahead of time, or before you make this big investment in getting a CPA license or getting your master's to pursue that, because if there's no way to get that experience, then there's really no point of doing any of it. So for politics, it's not, entirely political, but, someone in Washington decided the SEC was going to, govern that. So you kind of have to you just have to be aware of those types of things when you're in business to just make sure that you cover your bases, because the worst thing that could have happened, I can't even imagine doing all that work, passing, getting my second master's degree and passing the CPA exam, and then being told, well, I'm sorry, now you can't run your business anymore that you've been doing for the past 5 or 6 years. That would just be terrible. So please, please, please just be aware when you're running your business of the things that can happen and the things that can change. So the next thing we're going to look at as far as outside forces that may affect your business are the social aspects of your business. And when you're running a business, you have to consider what reaction would be to your product, especially if you're an entrepreneur, what reaction the local community would have to your product. And if you're moving to a new town or a new state or country, do you know what the majority of the people there believe? Now, I know this can get really political again as far as different court cases that have come up about religious freedom and do you serve certain people? All of that kind of stuff. I know that there's things like that out there, but we're not talking about discrimination here. We're talking about knowing the market potential that you could have and being able to analyze that to know, is this going to be a successful business? Or are we going to be set up for success or not? So here are just a few social forces that may affect your business. And these are especially important if you're opening up a brick and mortar store instead of an online business, because with an online business, you can find people easier on the internet, but with a brick and mortar, it'd be a little bit more difficult to attract people to your store because they kind of have to live in your local area for people to know about you. So number 1, religion. So is your product best for a certain group of people? So if you create Christian devotional books and your local community is mainly just non-religious, there's not a big church presence, there's not really many churchgoers or Christians in that area, then having your books in your local bookstore might not be the best idea. You want to find the people who would want your product and take it to where they already are. So think about that. Think about the demographics of your area. Think about the culture. If you're opening up a restaurant, are there certain dietary restrictions that people in your community abide by? Are there people who don't eat certain types of meat and they have a heavy population there? It's probably not best to open up a restaurant that serves bacon everything there, because you're not going to have a good market share because the market share just isn't in that community. And so you want to think about those things as well as the demographics. What's the average age of someone who's living in your community? Is it mainly people who have young kids, or are they mainly people who are retired, who don't have their kids, who don't have young children? If you're looking for that, for a certain age group for your product, millennials in different generations, millennials are going to value your product differently than the baby boomers will, and they will be looking for different products. So think about some of those things. You can find information online on different state websites and the Bureau of Labor and Statistics to see where the demographics are, and you can look at the census to see what is the average age of people who live places and how many people live in a certain town, and how many the information that they sent in, different things about them. You can find out a lot of information there when you're doing your research on this. Okay, so the third thing you want to think about as far as the environment of your business, of where it's going to be, is technology. So if you haven't noticed already, everything is moving to the cloud, and this cloud is not a cloud, in the sky like where rain comes from. It's the cloud where all the information is stored. It actually is a physical place somewhere. I don't really know where it is, but all that kind of confuses me. But it's gotten really hard to find programs that are just purchased one time. Basically, everything is a subscription now. You actually can get like Microsoft Office on disk if you call in and really ask for it. They have to tell you a few times no, you want to be in the cloud, but you can actually get it on a disk if you want it, just FYI. So every company is trying to move you to pay monthly for services that are online. And as far as they're concerned, that is the gold standard for revenue models, is recurring revenue. People pay every single month. They have your debit card number on file and they just charge it on whatever day of the month, and the money keeps rolling in for them. And they are able to control the programs more. They're able to update everything, and they're able to provide a higher quality of service to you because they can do more updates automatically. But it's not so great when you're trying to keep up with all the changes that they can make whenever they want, because that is very frustrating sometimes. And technology can affect your productivity, especially if you have a specific process down for programs that you use, and then you open up your computer one day and you find that all the tabs are changed. You have to spend time figuring out where everything is. Not that that's ever happened to me before, but it can be very, very frustrating, and that can cause you more time loss in your productivity. You can't control those changes. You have to learn how to maximize the efficiency of each program that you're using without going insane and trying to recreate the wheel every single time. So a few years ago, when you wanted to purchase a book, you had to purchase it in print. And this was the only way to purchase it besides like on tape or on disc or something like that. That was the only way that you could get the information. But now you can get almost any book in digital form. And so knowing the ways that you can get your product to consumers is so important, because you can add that way as a revenue stream in your own business and offer it to your customers before your competition can. So, these companies that have the recurring revenue, think about something in your own business that you can do that as well, the recurring revenue model, how you can use technology to do that, how you can become more efficient with technology. I know these are all external things we're thinking about that can affect our business, but think about the technology that you're using and how it changes and how you can increase your productivity in your business so that you actually use it for your good instead of just, trying to keep up with it all the time. Okay, so number 4, and this is going to be the last main point for this episode, it's going to be education and how education affects the exterior environmental analysis of our business. And you might be thinking, education, why are we talking about that right now? Well, right now we're talking about the education of our consumers and how much do they know about the products that we're offering and what do they want to learn about it. And since you can find almost any information online now, people Google a lot more and they look at YouTube and they look up tutorials and they look up information and they really research products more and services more for whenever they have questions to see, can I do this on my own? At least some consumers do. They research and see if they can do it on their own, and then they are more educated and they ask better questions of you. I've even seen people search things on Pinterest, because Pinterest, is basically a search engine. Pinterest and YouTube are search engines now. That's just how it is. And since our customers have so much information available to them through all of those platforms, we have to be aware that they have better questions for us and will probably know when we don't know what we're talking about because they've already researched some things. And I hope this is never the case, but take it as your warning that they're going to know if you don't know what you're talking about in your business, just because they're able to look it up. So it's always best, if you don't know an answer, to say, I can find out for you, or let me look that up, or let me get back with you on that, just as a side note. Okay, so this is also a fantastic marketing opportunity, education. People are looking for information on topics to do it themselves and the platforms that are already available. And so why not create YouTube videos and explain some basics of your industry and intermediate topics about what you do and kind of establish yourself as an expert in that field. And they'll come back to you for more answers and will ask you questions and will want you to answer them, and you can make more videos on that. And eventually they're going to buy what you're offering, given the fact that you have something that they would want to buy, because you are offering something to them that they're already interested in and that they want to learn more about. And for a deeper dive on this, I just listened to an episode of the Biz Chicks podcast, and it was episode 313 with Jessica Stansberry, where they talk about video and becoming the expert and positioning yourself online as the person to go to for something like that. So I would highly recommend you listen to that episode. It's episode 313 of the Biz Chicks podcast. And you want to take the education as a marketing opportunity. You don't want to take it as an opportunity to talk down to your consumers or to assume that they know something about your industry when they may not know something about it. You really want to take the approach of they have the capability to find out this information, but I'm going to give it to them in an easier format to learn so that they can make a better decision on what they need. That's all comes back to finding your target customer and to finding someone who wants what you're paying for. And they'll search you out if they're looking for something that you're offering, which is fantastic. You want people to be searching for you for sure. So those are 4 areas to analyze when you are running a business. And after you've analyzed and looked to see what the political scene is, what the social stigmas are around your business, what new technologies you can bring in, and the education level around your product, then you can start to build that into your marketing plan. So maybe you find that your business is in a bad part of town and that's why customers aren't visiting you, and it might be time to move. Or maybe your business is behind on technology and your customers can't easily purchase what you're offering. It might be time to change and upgrade to something digital. Or maybe people don't understand what you're offering and how valuable it is. Then it's time to educate them through a video and have it available for them to watch. You can see how knowing this information is gold for your marketing. And this tells you what to talk about, what to have an answer for, and what to encourage future clients to think about. So if you're listening to this when it releases, I am on my last class for the semester. Praise the Lord. I am taking finals next week, and then on next Friday, I start my 3 summer classes. So send me some encouragement on social media if you can, because I know I will need it at this point. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at DAC_balance_LLC, or just search #DACbalance, and it will lead you straight back to my page. I hope you've heard something here today that will help you focus on what you should be doing in your business. And I hope you've heard something that will help you move forward in your business this week. I hope you have a productive week.